Hey, it's me, the leftovers in your fridge. Thanksgiving was a while ago. You are on day 4 of leftovers. You're trying to spice things up so that it stays interesting. Well, how about instead of just eating leftovers, you eat leftovers while listening to an episode of this podcast? Before we continue my first ever journey through the Harry Potter series, just a few quick announcements. First off, hello, how's it going? It's been a while. I hope you're well. If you haven't been listening to my new podcast, The Newest Olympian, what are you doing? You should do it. It's very similar to Potterless, but it's about the Percy Jackson series, and it's been very fun and lighthearted, and I really like those books a lot, and you can listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for The Newest Olympian. But I'm not just here with an episode of Potterless. I'm not just here with another live show episode of Potterless, but I also come bearing an announcement regarding Potterless live shows. As long as the world is okay and it is safe enough to do so, we will be doing Potterless 2022, and so far we have 4 dates set for March and April of next year. So as long as things are okay and it is safe enough to do so, we will be doing a live show in Nashville, Tennessee on March 3rd, in Atlanta, Georgia on March 4th, in Washington, D.C. on March 31st, and Seattle, Washington on April 21st. If you want to learn more about these shows and potentially get tickets to them, you can go to potterlesspodcast.com/live. There will be an updated tour poster, and as the year goes on, if we add more dates, I will update that regularly so you can check back to see if we're coming to a city near you. Now, before we get into the episode, what are you about to listen to? This is a live show episode from the second show that I did on Potterless 2021 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is the first ever episode of Potterless, live or not live, where I was completely by myself. The question I set out to answer is, what the heck is the plot of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, the iPhone game? I got through a couple of the years. It is a silly time. There's a Q&A at the end. I think you will enjoy it. I hope you will enjoy it. And check back in a couple months or so, because I will be continuing to do this sort of thing where I post live show episodes from old live shows. And if there's any sort of announcements, I will bring those along with the episode. If there's new live shows to announce, I'll do that, all that kind of good stuff. So stay subscribed to Potterless, because every now and then you'll get some fun audio goodies. So thank you in advance for listening. Thank you for sticking around. And I hope you enjoy this live show episode of Potterless Live in Pittsburgh, starring Mike Schubert and guest starring editing Mike, I guess?
Push to start. Yeah. You know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
It's black and yellow. What's good, Pittsburgh? Woo! Man. Hello. How's it going, Pittsburgh? This is my first time here, and it's been a lovely experience. So thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for wearing masks and stuff. That makes me feel better about doing it. If you want a very special, definitely not just plain black mask from the Potterless show, I'll put it right here and you can get one. But if not, no worries. You do you. Hello, welcome to Potterless Live. How's it going, folks? Okay. My name is Mike Schubert. You will meet our very special guest later in the show. It's editing Mike. I'm very honored that we were able to bring him here. Man, I gotta do an intro that doesn't make me so out of breath all the time. Man. Oh, I'm very excited because now that I'm on tour, I get to do this thing for the first time ever where, let's just see this. I'm performing in Philadelphia later in this month. Yes, good. So, you guys have to be rowdier than Philadelphia, right? I'm sure you will be. Cool. No, I'm glad we were able to make that work. I've been going to shows for years that have done that, so now I feel very honored that I get to pit cities in the same state against each other. Hooray! Okay, so this is Potterless Presents What the Heck is the Plot of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. If anyone's unaware, there is an iPhone game, loosely definition of the word game, called Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, just by a show of noise, hands, etc. Who has ever played this game before? Okay, who here has never played this game before? Okay, don't feel bad, because even if you're like me who has played this game and all these other people, you still have no idea what's going on. I have played most of the game. I think I've gotten like up to like year 5. And when I was putting together notes for this show, I was recapping notes I had already made, and so I've already played the game, I've already made recap notes of the game, and then I was rereading them and preparing them for this show, and I was like, this happened? I forgot that this happened. Because the whole existence of this iPhone game, it's one of those free-to-play games where they're like, what if we made children spend their parents' money from their linked iPhone credit card accounts? And that's like the whole thing. It is all an experience in trying to make you play the game and like giving you just enough where you're like, this is fun. And then they're like, but what if we made it so frustrating that you would just rather pay money to get through things quicker? And that's the whole game. But it's a wild story, and I wanted to make sure that A, everyone knew what was going on, and B, we could all laugh at its absurdities together, because it's truly ridiculous. It's an absolutely wild time. Now, as far as my history with Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, so here's me, Mike Schubert. Here are my stats of what I'm at right now. I took this screenshot in the green room, so this is up-to-date information. I am almost done with my 4th year. I have a very cool, sparkly jacket that like stars go by and stuff. It's pretty sweet. That is my cat. His name is Pamplemousse, which is the French word for grapefruit, which is the prettiest word for the shittiest fruit. So that's my cat. I've gone through a couple different phases. The reason I stopped playing Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery is because, as you'll see here, I unlocked my hair in the game, and I was like, cool, I did it. I beat the game. I've won. I don't have to do anything else. But I went through a couple different phases. I went through like spiky headband phase, but you will note that the monocle has always stayed consistent, because I unlocked a monocle pretty early on in Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, and I wasn't gonna just give that away. Come on. So that's me zoomed in. The photo I was mid-blink, which I think is perfectly fitting. So anyway, we're here to discuss this game. Now, I'm going to be going through the plot and we're going to see as much as we can get through before the Hard Rock Cafe Pittsburgh kicks us out. Because I foolishly thought, oh, you know, it'd be a fun show if I go through the whole plot of the game. That'll be super fun. And then as I prepared notes, I was like, I hope we get through the first year, because there's a lot of wild things to discuss. Now, you might be thinking, Mike, this is an RPG game. How could you describe the plot of something where the whole premise of it and the promotion behind it was that you get to live your own Hogwarts experience and you get to make choices? Well, here's the thing. Your choices don't matter in this game at all. Nothing matters. Nothing at all matters. The only thing that choices really affect are the different points that you get, so in the different stats like courage or empathy, and then the relationship that you have with the different people that you meet. But ultimately, the plotline doesn't matter, and it's especially fun when you do something like completely ridiculous, or you say something completely rude to a teacher, and then it's like, oh, well, okay, carry on. Like, there's a point in one of the side quests where you save Hagrid's dog, Fang, and he's a puppy, and he's not named yet, and you get to pick his name, and one of the choices from the 3, it's like Fang, like Fido or some generic dog name, and then Voldemort Jr., which I obviously picked, but then Hagrid was like, no, I think I'm going to name him Fang. It's like, why did you ask me? And also, why did you give me such a good option? But like, canonically, if Fang was Voldemort Jr., come on, that'd be great. So your choices don't matter, much like the points in Whose Line Is It Anyway. But we're gonna go through the plot here, and it's an interesting tale. So what is fun about the game is that it takes place back in time of Harry Potter world. Harry Potter has been born, but he is not yet Harry Potter going to school and stuff. So you get to meet people like Bill Weasley, Charlie Weasley, thank God, and Tonks, etc. But when you first go and you're getting all of your things necessary to get ready for Hogwarts, first off, your parents are just not there. Like, you're just kicking it around Diagon Alley just by yourself. Like, you don't even have a giant man walking you around buying things with you. You're just like there. And then you meet this friend, Rowan. And Rowan helps you get the essential things that you need at Diagon Alley. Now, when you first set up the game, because I guess this is still a game semi-made by J.K. Rowling, even though she had no play of the plot, you get to pick, like, am I a boy or am I a girl? And then Rowan, depending on what you pick, if you are a boy, Rowan is a boy. And if you are a girl, Rowan is a girl. Because heaven forbid you have a friend that isn't the same sex, gender, whatever as you. Like, no, my goodness, can't do that. So Rowan's appearance changes based on what you did, which I don't understand. But you and Rowan start going through Diagon Alley, and then you meet Ollivander, who is a little less creepy because he's younger, which is nice, but he, of course, like, right off the bat, like, this is the second thing that happens in the game, he's like, oh yeah, whatever you've named your character, I know your brother, Jacob. He got expelled from Hogwarts for breaking several school rules, and he went missing ever since. How's he doing? I don't know, Ollivander. I didn't even know I had a brother, but you've just expositioned on, oh, by the way, you have a brother, and also something bad happened to him, and no one's heard from him since. And then that's just like the second thing you do in the game. So then he asks you questions, and the questions that he asks you are, how do you feel about this? Like, he's like breaking down your thought process behind your missing brother that you just learned existed, and then those answers determine what the core and the size and the pliancy of your wand is, because that's how it works. So you get your wand from Ollivander, you take the train to Hogwarts, and then you get to pick your house in the sorting ceremony. In the game, you get to pick whatever you want, and then Rowan, of course, gets sorted into the exact same house that you were in, and then you go to Charms class, you learn Lumos, you go to Potions class, and you see Rowan arguing with a Slytherin girl. Her name is Marula Snide, and if you couldn't tell by her incredibly villainous-sounding name, she is your stand-in for Draco Malfoy, where she hates you and says mean things of you, and much like Draco, where Draco's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make fun of Ron, I'm just gonna call him poor all the time. Every time Marula sees you, she's like, how's your missing brother? Like, that's every conversation with Marula. She's like, hey, you know your brother that might be dead? I'm gonna bring him up every time I see you. So that's her existence. Of course, since you're in Potions class, you then meet Professor Snape, who also hates you because A, you're the protagonist, and B, like, maybe you look like Lily Potter or something. But he also hates you, like, right off the jump. So you go through a Potions class, and then you head to the common room to meet someone named Ben Copper. Now, to full disclosure here, I have not prepared anything past year 4 of the plot because we're not getting through that, just because we will run out of time. There is so much to discuss. But I'm going to just put it here so that it's in record. I do not trust Ben Copper at all. I do not trust this guy. I do not know, like, what the final reveal of who's behind all of the evil things happening at Hogwarts in this fictional alternate Hogwarts. But Ben's whole thing is that he is afraid of everything. Like, and not even like Neville levels of timid. We're talking like, if someone turned off a light and he saw the person turn off the light switch, he would be like, what happened? Like, he's afraid of everything. And I just think it's he's too scared. There's no human is afraid of the things that Ben Copper is afraid of. It is so over the top, and his entire thing is sad. And what's funny when you play this game, it's just one of those like RPG games where it has text, and then there's no voice acting. People just make noises, and most characters have a range of noises. If they're happy, they'll make a happy noise. If they laugh at something, there's a giggle. Ben's entire range of noises is just like, no matter what he says, the text is preceded with and I don't trust him at all. I'm pretty sure that he's this giant mastermind behind everything. We will see if this ages poorly or if this is Ludo Bagman round 2, Tudo Bagman. So, you meet Ben Copper in the common room, terrified of everything. And he thanks you for standing up to Marula in Potions class when she was rude to you, because he has also been bullied by Marula, because of course. So you then meet your prefect. I think the prefect varies in appearance and name based on what house you're in, but the one consistent thing is that your prefect is a narc and is like so uptight that they're not even fun. The entire existence of the prefect is just to occasionally yell at you for losing house cup points in the school. And it's just like every couple of levels the prefect will be like, you're not getting into trouble, right? It's like, have you played this game? That's the whole thing. Like, I'm trying to find my brother, I'm breaking the rules. I'm Harry Potter, but not really. So that's the whole thing the prefect does. The next thing that happens is that you get a letter from apparently Snape. And there was a thing in the potions class where like your potion got messed up, but apparently you got a letter from Snape that says, I realize that your potion was tampered with. I will give you back the house cup points that I took away because it made an explosion. I will give you back the house cup points if you bring me some potions ingredients, get them from this cabinet, whatever. So you do that, and when you open the cabinet, instead it's a giant devil snare, and it grabs you, and then you're trapped there. Now, for many of you who have played the game, this might sound familiar because this is the point in the game where everyone stops playing the game. Because this is the point in the game where you are introduced to the energy system. Now, the energy system in the game is like what allows you to complete the tasks. So when you have to do something, you have to like tap on a little action thing, and then that requires energy. And leading up to this, the other tasks you did never use too much energy so you can get along. But when you get trapped in the devil snare, you have to use a lot of energy. And then it gets into a thing where it's like, oh, you ran out of energy. You could pay money to skip ahead. Or you could wait 8 hours. And I'm not kidding, 8 hours. And it's not 8 hours of video game time. It's not like some currency of time. Like, you have to wait 8 human Earth hours. Like, you have to let the Earth revolve like 1/3 of a day, and then you can continue playing Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. Now, if you were a normal person that like would see this, many people are like, okay, I got to the devil snare, I'm not gonna do this, this is absurd. If you're me and you're kind of doing this for work, sort of, you're like, all right, I guess I'll do it. If you're my wife, Kelly, you're like, no, I have to do this. Kelly is so far in the game, she has done so much. She has more house cup points than God. She has more money than the richest billionaire that you can think of. She's like the most powerful person in the whole school. She does all the side quests. And the way that my wife, Kelly, plays the game is that she's either not playing the game at all, or she's not doing anything except for playing the game. It has gotten to the point where there will even be times, our normal thing, a little peek behind the curtain into life of the Schubert household. Kelly usually goes to bed earlier, and I usually stay up late because I love procrastinating. And there have been multiple times where Kelly's going to bed at like a regular human hour, like midnight, and I'm planning on going to bed at my time, like 2:30 in the morning, and she will say, hey, I'm in the middle of an 8-hour task in Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. Before you come to bed, can you open my phone and complete the thing for me because the energy's gone back? So I've helped in her raise to Hogwarts fame. But anyway, this is when you get into the energy mechanic, which is very frustrating. And then there's all these other currencies in the game like gems, and you can use gems to skip ahead. But really what it is like you use human dollars to buy gems, which gems then let you skip ahead so you don't have to wait. So if you choose to go past this and get past the devil snare, then the game continues. So you've learned that this whole thing was a ruse. Marula lied. She wrote the thing and pretended to be Snape and trapped you into this stuff, of course. But you are able to break free. Hagrid helps you break free, and Hagrid becomes one of your friends. It's very cool. But moving forward, you have flying class, you have gobstones. You get to play gobstones, which is just regular marbles, I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked into gobstones far enough to see if it like truly is wizarding. But my general understanding of gobstones is that it's just marbles, but you move them with your wand, making them wizard marbles. That is my understanding of what gobstones are, at least according to this game. But when you play gobstones, you get to play with your friends, and the way you play it is you try to distract your friends so that you can beat them in gobstones. So you just have to like ask your friends questions about things that they're interested in. But this is like the rudest thing ever because you are just doing this so that they get distracted so that you can beat them. So you are feigning interest in whatever their hobbies are and then beating them in the game. So like if you play Charlie Weasley, you're like, hey, Charlie, dragons are cool. Whatever you do in marbles to win at marbles. Like, and that's it. And you do this to everyone. And then when you beat your friend after tricking them by pretending to be interested in their like one shtick, you gain friendship points with them. So it's like, oh, Mike, that was so much fun when you pretended to care about the thing that I like and you stomped me in gobstones. We're better friends now. That's it. That's what you get to do. So you learn to play gobstones. Woo! So then you move on. You confide in Rowan the situation about your brother. And you tell him, mainly so that the player, you can understand what the hell's happening with your brother. You explain that Jacob was a student at Hogwarts during the First Wizarding War until he was expelled during his final year for tampering with the fabled cursed vaults. The cursed vaults are a big theme in this game. And he apparently unleashed a series of curses, makes sense, cursed vaults, curses upon the school, endangering his fellow students, and he was expelled. Now, this does not sound like the Hogwarts I know. If someone did that at the Hogwarts we read the books in, they'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe we'll put him in detention, but that's it. They actually expelled someone? Wild. So, that's what happened with Jacob, your brother, that you've learned about 10 minutes ago. Moving forward, your prefect wants you to learn how to duel. Your prefect, who was previously very uptight, is like, you should learn how to duel. So you go with Rowan to search for a book on dueling spells. And when you get there, you have a vision about a suit of armor, a staircase shrouded in mist, and ice encasing Hogwarts. And it spreads faster and faster. And then you snap out of it, and you and Rowan end up leaving. But what this later unlocks is another fun feature in the game called Meal with a Friend. And Meal with a Friend is when you get to go in the Great Hall, or later you get to go into the Three Broomsticks and have butterbeer. And again, you get to bond with a friend and up your friendship points. This one is a little different, though. It's still, I don't think I would consider it friendship. Instead, your friends are in the power seat here, and they just ask you quizzes about them. So they're like, what's my last name? What does my father do for a living? What's my favorite spell? Like, that's how you get to bond with your friends, is it's like, oh yeah, like, hey, Clarice, let's go grab some lunch. Cool. And then she just grills you for 15 minutes about her whole life. And that's how you become friends. What's also interesting about Meal with a Friend is that if you do the one in the Great Hall, you sit at the big table, everyone around you is eating, and you see like lush food in front of you. There's like a full turkey, and there's like cooked vegetables and stuff. But what do you and your friend eat? Sandwiches. You eat sandwiches cut in half, like triangle, regular sandwiches. And of course you take bites and the thing stays perfectly intact because it's an iPhone video game. And then the other flip is if you have butterbeer at the Three Broomsticks, you have a full mug of butterbeer. And then when you drink it, you just like chug it like this, like you slick your head all the way back and just like pound it and then put it down, and then it's still completely full. And then you just keep doing that. Like, that is how you drink in this world, is like, yeah, like just splashing butterbeer in your face. And that's how you bond with your friends. So now Meal with a Friend has been unlocked. Ha ha! So Flitwick then teaches you Expelliarmus in like a one-on-one private lesson, and afterwards he says, now, whatever your character's name is, promise me that you'll only use dueling spells when it's absolutely necessary and you have no other options. And then you get two choices of answer. And this is the first instance of a mechanic in the game where you have some choices, but one of the choices is like the preferred choice, and you have to be a certain level of one of the stats to do this option. So if you have a high enough courage thing, you can pick an answer about being really brave. If you have a high enough knowledge thing, you can say something smart, etc. So in this case, your two options are, I promise, or I can't promise that, Professor Flitwick. And that's the preferred option. Like, that's the one that's harder to achieve. So you're incentivized when Flitwick's like, please don't do this. You're like, sorry, dude, I'm gonna do this. I know you've already taught me how to do this. Maybe you should have asked me this before you taught me how to do this spell, because now I can do Expelliarmus, and I'm just gonna do it to everybody. Harry made an entire career off of this. I don't need to learn a single other spell. I'll be fine. So, silly move by Flitwick here. You then duel Rowan to understand how dueling in this video game works, and it's just rock, paper, scissors. So there's three types of spells that you can do: attack, defense, or tricky, which I always pick. And then you just, like, if you win the rock, paper, scissors, you get to pick one of the spells, and then as you progress through the game, you get more and more damaging spells that you can, fight your friends with. You later catch Marula trying to bully Ben, and then you can duel her to make her stop. And this is where you get a fun mechanic in the game where there's a couple different in-game currencies. One of them is coins, which you can spend on things like getting a pet or getting new clothes and stuff. But also, in order to duel, you have to pay money. And I understand that this is just a game mechanic thing so that you are incentivized to like get more coins or buy more coins or whatever. But just like on its base, I do think it's very funny that you were gonna challenge someone to a duel like, hey Marula, stop bullying Ben. Also, here's 100 galleons. Now let's fight. And you also have to do this when you have a meal with your friends. So it's like, I guess like you're always paying for the meal, but even if you're eating in the Great Hall, like maybe you're tipping the house elves and maybe you're really cool, but like to do anything in the game, you have to pay for it, which of course is how the game works, but just like on its principle, I do think is very funny. So, of course, you duel Marula, you kick her butt, you throw some great one-liners on her, it's very fun. And then, of course, Snape catches you because that's all Snape does. He's never prepping a lesson plan. He's just waiting to, catch the protagonist of the story in the middle of doing something. So, Snape catches you, you get in trouble. But later on, you meet one of your best friends in the game, Penny. She's a Hufflepuff. She's really nice. She thanks you for standing up for Ben, even though I don't trust Ben. I don't want to stand up for Ben, but the game makes you stand up for Ben. You then go to detention with Snape, and Filch comes in, and you overhear Filch and Snape talking about the vaults and then your brother's name. Shout out to Filch for being very bad at whispering. So you hear this, and of course, later on, you and Rowan snoop in the Forbidden Corridor to try to figure out what's going on. You find a door, and it's locked, so you realize you need to learn Alohomora, obviously, and then Mrs. Norris chases you out. Classic Mrs. Norris chasing you out of the room. Then there's like a flying lesson. You encourage Ben to learn how to fly, which I think is a terrible decision. You should not have taught this guy how to fly. Flitwick then teaches you Flipendo because every Harry Potter video game has to have this spell that is not in the books or the movies. I don't know why every Harry Potter video game's like, yeah, dude, Flipendo's in this one, but it is in every video game. So you learn Flipendo. Then you have a potions class, you talk with Marula, and Marula reveals that she's also heavily interested in the vaults, which I don't care about because I don't like Marula. I don't know why she's telling us stuff. I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't like Ben. I want nothing to do with them. I just want to eat sandwiches with Rowan, please. So you learn Alohomora, and then you and Rowan are going, and then you can pick either Ben or Penny to go with. I chose Penny because I do not trust Ben at all. You go, and then you also make a sleeping draft, and you give that to Mrs. Norris. So you basically drug a cat, which is super cool and normal. And then you go in, you unlock this door, but then Marula has been following behind you, and she kind of ambushes you. But she jumps in and then like does some villain monologue crap, and then magical ice freezes her in place. So this ice that you saw in your vision comes to play. And that is what this cursed vault is. It's like got cursed ice in it. So she's frozen in place. Then your friends get frozen in place. So you save your friends, and then you can choose whether or not to save Marula. Now, I did save Marula because you get more stats, and I'm just like purely in this game for like an efficiency perspective. Like I'm doing whatever gets me the highest points. I've realized that the game, my choices don't matter, so I'm getting my stats, baby, because it matters for my brain, even though I guess you guys saw my stats. So yeah, all those stats, it was important. But I did look it up online, and if you don't choose to save Marula, one of your friends does because they're nicer than you. So Marula does get saved no matter what, unfortunately. So there's a door to go further on past this vault, but you decide not to. There's this strange code written in like what looks like runes on it. Rowan just says, I'll memorize this because Rowan is Hermione in this story, and then you just yeet the hell out of there. So you leave, and it's the end of the school year. Rowan vows to decode this code over the break. And then before you leave, Dumbledore has a little one-on-one with you in the courtyard, and you have this little heart-to-heart about what you learned this year and all of that. You apologize for the whole vault shenanigans and all of this. And then Dumbledore says like, wow, it seems like you've learned a lot over the course of this year. Here's 100 points. So Dumbledore has just like been doing this for decades. He gives you 100 points for nothing, and then you end up winning the House Cup with your house, and that is the end of year one. Hooray! The prefect who's been riding your ass all year about losing points takes back all of the mean things that she said to you, and you're all good to go because you won the House Cup points, whatever. It's not the journey, it's the destination. And now you get into year two, the Harry Potter, Hogwarts Mystery, and the Chamber of Secrets. So, Rowan tells you that he successfully decoded the message. The message says that the next instruction has been transfigured into a black quill and hidden in the Slytherin common room. So you sneak into the Slytherin common room, you steal the quill, and then you leave. When you were finding it, you see that like the quill itself, you learn it was signed by the letter R. That is what you've learned. Your only hint is that someone behind this has the letter R. Rowan tells McGonagall and Dumbledore what's going on with all of this like new quill business, which I appreciate that in this game, very early on, you and your friends are like, let's get the teachers involved right off the bat. Because it does feel like most of the Harry Potter books wouldn't exist if the main trio was just like, hey, Dumbledore, there's some stuff going on. Can you help us? As opposed to like waiting until it was definitely too late, and then Dumbledore does his annual excuse to leave the school trip, and then you have to tell McGonagall, and she's like, no, Dumbledore's on his I'm leaving the school for a couple weeks trip, and then it just never works out timeline-wise. Your friends here, they're different. So Rowan is very invested in trying to come up with a plan. So you and Rowan try to come up with a plan, and it seems like it's going to be this grandiose plan, but the plan just like ends up just waiting for a Slytherin to make fun of a Gryffindor, and then you flipendo the Slytherin into the fountain. Ben is there. I have no idea what's happening. Like, there's some plan, and then you do this, and then you go back into the corridor to look for stuff. So you're back in the forbidden corridor. And of course, what happens? But Ben is there, and Ben went there alone. I don't trust Ben. Why was he here? Ben's afraid of everything. Why is Ben in a corridor which is called the Forbidden Corridor? Like, it's not a nickname. Like, that's the official name of this hallway. And Ben, scaredy cat, was like, yeah, I'm going to go down this hallway. I don't buy it. I don't trust Ben. I don't think he's trustworthy at all. So he's trapped in the ice, but there is a fun exchange because you're able to bring McGonagall and Snape in to try to save him out of there. So Ben says, I'm so cold when he's trapped in the ice. And Snape says, obviously, because he's Snape. So then you try to do flipendo to break the ice because that's what you did in year one, but it doesn't work. And McGonagall says, oh, the ice has become impervious. So like the ice has leveled up. It's learning, so the ice now is, flipendo's not good enough. So Snape then says Inspendio would melt it away, and McGonagall goes, yes, along with his flesh in all caps. And Snape says, I never said he would survive. So glad Snape's just been like this the whole time. So McGonagall says that she thinks someone is messing with the cursed vaults. So the ice just hasn't leveled up on its own. Someone is making the ice gain experience points and, learn anti-flipendo charms. So she thinks that someone is behind it. And she mentions, of course, like, oh, if only Dumbledore were here, he could help us out. But Dumbledore's on his annual, I'm not at the school, guys, trip. So he's not around. Classic Dumbledore. You end up doing a very careful version of Inspendio, and you break Ben free. He goes to the hospital wing, and you then visit Ben in the hospital wing. Madame Pomfrey, who is awesome in this game. Madame Pomfrey is the greatest thing about Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery because she is very sassy, like she is in the book. But because like the whole plot of this game is you and your friends just like repeatedly doing dangerous stuff, like even more so than Harry, you and your friends end up in the hospital wing all of the time. It's also convenient because the game wants you to do things that take a long time. So a lot of the activities will be like, heal! And then you just have to wait 8 hours for your friend to get better. So that happens all the time. But you get a lot of Pomfrey interactions, and she's great. Basically, she just like keeps yelling at you and all your friends for getting into trouble all the time, which is A, very justified, and B, the correct thing for her to do. But she says that Ben has been asking for you, but Ben has no recollection of doing so. And he kind of just forgets everything, which either the ice has also learned how to confuse people or do like the Imperious Curse, or Ben is lying because Ben is behind everything. Those are the two options here. You go back to the corridor to try to snoop around, and you go with Rowan, and Rowan reveals that Rowan doesn't trust Ben.
I love Rowan. This is great. I already was a big Rowan fan, but because Rowan is like, I don't really know, why would Ben go down this corridor? Rowan is yes. Like, the voice of reason, Rowan, makes me very happy. So you search in the corridor, and you hear a wind going through the corridor. And Rowan says, that doesn't make sense. We're in a hallway indoors. Very astute, Rowan. So Rowan says that they need to use a spell to let you know if something has been transfigured. So you don't know the spell, so you have to learn it in a class, of course. So you leave, and then you meet up with Peggy and Ben, which I don't like, and they warn you that Marula wants revenge for you thwarting her in a duel. So you go to potions class and you end up talking to her, and you try to bury the hatchet. You say, can we just put this behind us? It's a new year, new me. Can we just stop? I've got more important things to do. I really don't need a Draco Malfoy in my life. But she says, no, everyone gives me grief at the mere mention of dueling, which I, like, good, yeah, you were the one that wanted to fight me. I said, sure, I kicked your butt, please leave me alone. I need to find out what's going on with my potentially dead brother. And she goes on, she says, every time I talk about being powerful, they talk about you being more powerful. So my thought here is like, stop talking about being powerful. Like, if every time you talk about being powerful, people are like, well, Mike Schubert completely destroyed you in dueling, maybe don't mention it all the time. Seems like an easy solution. She goes on and says, unless you're a coward like your friend or a Death Eater like your brother, what? It's a wild accusation. I don't think my brother's a Death Eater. This is strange. She says, you will duel me again if you're not a coward. So you accept in the game, and then you actually give a great line where you say, when I beat you again, will you finally be able to move on with your life? Which is phenomenal. That is fantastic. Great job, Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery Me. That's very good. So you then beat her, and then she says, one way or another, this is the last time we duel. And then, like, 2 levels later, she challenges you to another duel. She says, tonight we duel, Schubert, after dark with no witnesses. Of course she wants no witnesses, because you're going to beat her for a 3rd time. It's like, Marula, just drop it. Like, you keep challenging me to dueling. I'm clearly better than you. Also, I'm pretty sure the game will just let me keep fighting you until I win to progress the story along. It's like you're really fighting a losing hand here. But anyway, you kick her butt. So you meet with Rowan again in the corridor, now that you know Revelio, and you use Revelio on what is a wall, but it's actually a big stairwell. Rowan says, Merlin's beard, you've unvanished a secret staircase. So apparently this is the same one from your vision, and then you decide that you and Rowan should tell a professor. But Rowan says, no, we gotta investigate, which feels very un-Rowan of Rowan, but the game is making you do this, so you investigate. So you go down through the hallway, and it's a different hallway, but this one is all icy. Like, there's ice everywhere. And you see some footprints, but you don't see footprints in snow, which would make sense because you could see them and then there's ice. You don't see wet footprints, which would make sense. There's a rug that doesn't have ice in it, and you see footprints in the rug. Now, I don't know if this is like a shag carpeting rug. I don't know if this is a rug made out of the Tempur-Pedic Swedish sleep system. But I don't understand how you can, footprints in a rug? And it's not like they're wet footprints or muddy footprints. It's just like impressions of shoes in a rug. So very interesting rug. But you see footprints regardless. And you follow them, you see a misty wall. And you use Flipendo on the mist, and it works. So Flipendo now it can't beat ice anymore, but it can defeat mist. So you use Flipendo, and then there's an icy door with a big, Elsa snowflake on it. And Rowan says, I think this is a cursed vault. Yeah, what gave you that idea, Rowan? The ice? That's the whole thing we know about these vaults is ice. So you think that the big safe-looking door covered in ice might be a vault? Thanks. So you open the door. When you touch the door, you have another vision. And your vision is 2 rooms. One was dark and filled with books. Another cluttered with a door outlined in chalk. And then you also reveal that you saw Voldemort. What's interesting about these visions when you're playing the game is that you don't see them. It just does a zoom in on your character's face, and you just make a face, and then you tell Rowan what you saw, and then you just kind of have to take your own word for it. So you tell Rowan, and immediately after you tell Rowan about this vision, The door shoots laser ice beams at you, like stormtrooper pew 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 pew, but it's ice beams, and it freezes Rowan, and he kind of turns into like an icicle from the torso down. So you then do a very careful incendio, but you have to bring Rowan to the hospital wing. And when Rowan's in the hospital wing, Rowan, who's like not doing great, is like, just go to class and learn. Like the dying breath, Rowan doesn't die. The dying breath of Rowan is, get better at magic. So you then do the midnight duel against Marula, you kick her butt, and then she says, okay, fine, we'll stop dueling, but our feud isn't over. Okay, fine, Marula. Like, I really just couldn't care less about her, because all she does is waste your time when you're trying to do other cooler things, like deal with ice that shoots laser beams at you. So she says, how are you so strong? And you say, my friends, because this is a Harry Potter game, of course. So you meet with Rowan back in the hospital wing. Rowan is struggling, but is slowly getting better. And then eventually, when Rowan gets better, Rowan says, there's someone that could help us out with these cursed vaults. His name is Bill Weasley. He's really cool. So you meet Bill Weasley, who in this game is very cool. And this is the Bill Weasley that should have been from the books, and the one that like we didn't get with like, oh, he's got a ponytail. Ho, ho, ho. But this Bill Weasley, super cool. He's got like the rolled up sleeves and the tie like done kind of loose, and he's got his hair slicked back, looking great. Bill Weasley in this game, A+. I approve of this Bill Weasley. So you meet with Bill, and in order to try to convince Bill to come along with you on this cursed vault mumbo jumbo, you give him a book as a gift to kind of sweeten the deal. But he's a very popular fourth year, so I mean, yeah, you got to do it. So you give him a book about Patricia Rakepick, one of the world's best curse breakers, and she comes into the story later. She ends up being a Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, who I also don't trust at all. Her and Ben definitely in it together. But we'll cross that Rakepick bridge when we get to it, but probably not tonight because there's a lot of wild things that happen in year 2 and year 3. So Bill says that he actually knows about you because of your brother. Jacob was the talk of the Weasley household when the news broke. And Bill says that he will help you because you tell him that the only reason you're getting into all this trouble is because you're worried about your brother, and he thinks that family is very important. So Bill says, oh, I'll teach you my favorite spell, Inspendio. Very convenient since this is an ice-themed villain. So he teaches you Inspendio, and then, or Incendio. Inspendio's when you're just like burning a money out of your pockets. He teaches you Incendio, and then he agrees to join you at the Cursed Vaults later. So you visit the vaults with Bill, and there's even more ice that is built up. But you use Incendio to melt it away. And then, because the door can now shoot laser beams at you, you and Bill are like, well, let's attack the door. So you have to attack the door. But of course, Bill gets shot with ice. It countered his Incendio spell. You break him free, but then again, he has to go to the hospital wing. That is just like the classic thing. You get too cold, you gotta go to the hospital wing. They have great blankets. So you go to the hospital wing, you visit him, he's fine. Madame Pomfrey says, a great line, she says, I hope that your younger siblings don't get into such antics when they're at the school. And Bill goes, no way, Fred and George are angels, which is great. So you then decide that you're gonna go back, but you're gonna bring a full team. So the plan is to like assemble an Ocean's 11 squad, and everyone's gonna have specialized tasks. So you're gonna teach Rowan and Penny spells, and then you're gonna teach Ben, I don't agree with this decision, but you're gonna teach Ben how to make up like a fire protection paste, which doesn't sound real. Maybe you're just trying to keep Ben busy so he's out of your way, but this is the plan. So you teach Penny Flipendo, and then you teach Rowan Incendio, and then you teach Ben how to make fire healing paste, which I guess is the best name that the game creators could come up with. So the ice now has spread throughout Hogwarts, and Professor Sinestra's students are frozen in astronomy class, and the Ravenclaw Quidditch team is frozen and trapped in the changing room, and Hagrid, classic Hagrid, lets it slip that Dumbledore has been looking for a curse breaker to deal with this. So you say to Hagrid, all right, we're gonna go in and help. And Hagrid says, when Dumbledore gets back, I'll tell him what you've done. So hell yeah, we're gonna get some house cut points. Classic. You meet up with Bill, you tell him that you're going to bring one person with you to the vaults. When I played, I brought Rowan because, again, Rowan doesn't trust Ben, meaning Rowan is a friend of mine. So you go in and you introduce Rowan to Bill, and then you go in to melt the door. So you melt the door with Inspendio, and then you don't just have to deal with magical ice. You don't just have to deal with an ice door that shoots laser beams at you, but now you have to fight an ice knight. Yeah, it's like a knight of armor, but it's made out of ice. And then you have to duel it, and then you beat it. Now, I did find it very frustrating that I couldn't just like do Inspendio over and over again, and then it would be like Pokemon would be like, super effective. You used the fire spell against the ice guy. That makes sense. But no, it just, you have to do a regular duel. But like, I didn't expect ice knights. Pretty cool stuff. So you fight off the ice knights, you free your team because of course they got frozen by the ice. And then you go into a room that has a column in it, and you have another vision, and it's from your brother saying that there are 4 more cursed vaults. Very convenient. It's year 2. There are 4 more cursed vaults. Looks like they've written the rest of the plot of the game. So there's 4 more cursed vaults. You have to find them and get to them before she does. That is what your brother ominously tells you, implying that a lady is behind this, but I still think it's Ben. So you go to McGonagall and tell her what's going on. McGonagall takes away points from you for, doing stuff you weren't supposed to do. She sends you to Dumbledore. You tell Dumbledore what's going on. He then kind of asks you, like, what'd you learn about this experience? And then he gives you 50 House Cup points because, like, you didn't do the right thing, but you did break the curse and you removed ice and you beat those ice knights. So here's 50 House Cup points, which is enough to put you over the edge. And then you win the House Cup again. But he does end this conversation by saying, like, can you please stop doing this whole cursed vault thing? Because I'm running out of bullshit points to give you. And that is the end of year 2. And that's also the end of the first act here of Potterless. But I did promise a special guest. And he's now here with me. Hey guys, it's me editing, Mike. How's it going? This is a very special edition of Potterless Live because the Potterless Live Tour, Potterless, actually has a sponsor. We are sponsored by The Leaky Cauldron. You might know them as the folks that make LeakyCon. You might know of them as the folks behind Mischief Management and Mischief Merch, but they are sponsoring the tour, so I get to do an ad read for you all live. Hooray! So LeakyCon is the largest unofficial Harry Potter fan convention. It celebrates the fandom and its impact on the world. I've been to a bunch of LeakyCons. It's a very fun time. It's just kind of like this, where it's a bunch of Harry Potter folks all getting together, nerding out about the stuff we love, not talking about that one lady who we don't like anymore, and having a fun time, all the good stuff about Harry Potter. So in 2022, there's going to be 2 LeakyCon conventions that I will most likely be at. There's one in Orlando in July to celebrate Harry's birthday, and only Harry's birthday, no one else's birthday who has the same day of birthday as Harry, and then in Denver in October of 2022 for a magical start to the Halloween season. There's a bunch of Harry Potter themed programming. There's live podcasts like Potterless, a very good show that you should all listen to. There's also live music. They get Wizard Rock bands. They have folks from the movies talk about behind the scenes stuff. It's a very good time. But they do more than just that because those conventions are far away. They also have a bunch of merchandise. So there's a bunch of fun merch that they make. And because you are here, you can go to leakycon.com. And if you use the promo code Potterless, you will get 10% off merch. That promo code Potterless will also get you 10% off if you get any tickets for LeakyCons. So leakycon.com, you can get merch, you can get tickets to the LeakyCons, and if you use the promo code Potterless, you will get a discount. If you want to go just to the merch store, you can go to mischiefmerch.com. If you want to check out LeakyCon, you can go to leakycon.com. But also, this is the intermission of Potterless Live. So I'm going to take about like 10, 15 minutes. You guys can, get food, drinks, or you can do stuff. You can use the restroom. I've also got Potterless merch. We've got pins and stickers and posters and shirts and all that good stuff. And if there's anything there that you want, but we don't have there is a coupon code WizardCoupon that you can get 20% off anything on the Potterless merch store, so you can check that out. So enjoy, and I will see you all in like 10 or 15 minutes or so after a brief little intermission. Have a fun time. See you guys soon.
Hold on there, past live Mike. It's me, editing Mike. And I know technically I'm talking to live editing Mike, but this is in the future editing Mike. The lore goes deeper. We're going to take a quick break here to hear words from some sponsors who make it feasible for me to be a podcaster full time. Some of these ads will be read by me. Some of them won't. The ones that are not read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Spain, don't be surprised if you hear a Spanish ad. But once these ads are over, we'll get back to this live show episode of Potterless.
Let's do Act 2, baby! Okay. How's intermission? I missed you all very dearly. Let's get back into Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. So we're going to talk about year 3, and then we'll do Q&A and stuff, and it'll be a fun time. So, year 3 of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, I like to call, oh crap, we have to stall. Like, the whole year of this one, I think, and I'm trying to remember, like, exactly what happened when the game came out, because, like, when the game first came out, I was playing it right as it started, and there was some things where, like, you would catch up. Like, you would catch up to it, and they'd be like, we don't have any more content. So I feel like year 3 was very rushed, because most of the stuff that happens in year 3 is, like, you're trying to do a thing, and it's like, oh, you gotta go to class to do 12 things. Like, it was just a lot of you doing the class mechanic, which is not really story-based, but there's still some stuff that goes down. So, year 3, Dumbledore does his classic, like, welcome back to school, everyone. If anyone messes with the cursed vaults, you will be severely punished. Like, that's the whole theme of his intro message. So, basically just subtweeting you and your friends, like, on blast in front of everybody. You do get to make new friends in year 3, though. One of those is Nymphadora Tonks. Very cool, super fun, pink hair, great. Immediately wants you to prank everybody, good stuff. Tonks, true to form. Now, you end up having a Boggart encounter in Herbology, which is, I think, just because they haven't cast the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher yet, but you run into a Boggart during Herbology, and you eventually learn from Hagrid that Jacob, your brother, considered that there was a connection between Boggarts and one of the cursed vaults. I'm glad Hagrid knows everything and tells you everything. He's very key in pushing the plot along. What's also very fun about Hagrid is that later on the game introduced a lot of side quests and stuff, which we haven't been talking about here. Most of them are unimportant, but there are some cool things, like you can become an animagus, you can become the prefect of your house, stuff like that. But I don't know, at some point in time when I stopped playing the game and then I started playing again to do more bonus episodes on Patreon, whatever happened, they really decided that, like, Hagrid wanted to be your friend, because when I came back, like, those side missions stacked up and it was like, go to lunch with Hagrid, hang out with Hagrid, play Wizard's Chess with Hagrid, like, talk about stuff with Hagrid. It was like, wow, me and Hagrid have a lot of learning to do. So they really want you and Hagrid to be best friends. And he was really tight with your brother. So he says that Jacob frequented the 3 broomsticks, which now that you're in year 3, you can visit. So you eventually go, you do meet Andre, who is a Ravenclaw who is obsessed with 2 things, fashion and dating. That's his whole thing. Dating is a whole nother side, I don't even know what to call it. It's a thing in the game. It is very strange. It, like, only gives you certain characters that you're allowed to date, and Ben isn't one of them, which really makes me think that he's the villain, because, well, like, they wouldn't make you a love interest, right? So that's a whole nother deal. Can't get into that can of worms. We'll be here for 12 years. So you go to the 3 broomsticks and you ask Madame Rosmerta if she knows anything about a black quill. And she's like, oh yeah, I have it in the back. So you ask her for it, and then she goes, oh, I can't find it on such short notice. Like, oh, is it, like, in the junk drawer? And you're like, oh, let me move away all these ketchup packets and plastic silverwares that I'm definitely going to use in the Polynesian sauce from Chick-fil-A. But she's like, I can't have it. But then she, like, basically blackmails you. She says, I could probably find it if you bring me the ingredients to make my new extra sweet butterbeer recipe, which feels very strange. Also, I'm a child, get them yourself. But also, I don't know if anyone's been to Universal and had the butterbeer, but I don't think anybody, and maybe I'm just old now, but, like, I don't think anybody took a sip of the butterbeer and was like, not sweet enough. Like, it's sugar with sugar on top of it and then also whipped cream. Like, it's a whole lot. So she wants you to do this, you do it, and then she gives you the quill. You use a spell to turn the quill back into a notebook, and it's the notebook of your brother's research. He's got all of his findings about the cursed vaults stuff. But instead of being able to just read this notebook, Filch is there. What is Filch doing at the 3 broomsticks? He's been tailing you because Snape had him following you like a bad detective in an 80s buddy cop movie. He's been trailing you in an unmarked car, and he immediately takes it and says, I'm confiscating this, and goes away. Awful. But to cheer you up, Tonks takes you to Zonko's. She says that you are going to get some sort of prank to distract Filch, and then you can take the book back from him. Now, you do meet the shopkeeper of Zonko's. His name is Bilton Blimes. I do not know if this guy is canonical. I do not know if there is a Pottermore article about him, but he's perfect. He has like this curly, very, very curly Dr. Seuss looking blonde mustache, ridiculous hair, very fancy clothing. The onomatopoeia noise that he kind of makes is like, oh, when you try to get jokes from Zonko. So he's kind of like the Mad Hatter. Fantastic. I need like 12 movies. Like, stop making 5 movies about Fantastic Beasts. Give me 5 Bilton Blimes biopics. I'm here for it. How did this fancy boy become in charge of the joke shop? I need to know. So, you meet him, and you have a couple different choices of the prank that you can get to distract Filch. I went with a fanged frisbee, which I thought was pretty cool. So you do this to Filch, you end up getting his notebook. You then later meet someone named Barnaby. He is a Slytherin. He's actually a great character. He actually has a very interesting character arc where he's kind of like Marula has her equivalent of Crabbe and Goyle. It's Barnaby, and this girl Ismelda. Ismelda is like if Bellatrix was worse and 12. Like, if you think Marula brings the heat where she's like, lol, your brother's been missing all the time, but Ismelda right away is like, let's learn Avada Kedavra. Like, she's wild. She's completely unhinged. She's got Bellatrix hair, so they're very much trying to set her up like that, but like, this girl is turned up to 11 from the jump and is 13. So that's the cronies. But Barnaby kind of turns from like a Crabbe and Goyle henchman type into your friend, and he's really sweet, and you learn that he is he's really interested in magical creatures, which is cool. You follow Jacob's instructions in the book, you and Bill, and you find he has a secret locked room that has 2 keys. So you have to try to find these 2 keys. You meet a new character named Tulip Karasu, and she is very cool. She is similar to Tonks in that she likes getting into hijinks and stuff, but she is more than one-dimensional. Like, Tonks, bless her heart, in this game is just like, Zonkos. We're going to Zonkos. Zonkos is my life. I eat, breathe, sleep, bleed Zonkos. Tulip at least likes pranks, but then also is your friend. Every time you hang out with Tonks, she's like, should we go to Hogsmeade? And should we go to Zonkos? So at least Tulip has a bit more to her. She's got some like mischievousness, but like it's a good prank. She's fun. But she says that she has one of the keys, and her accomplice has one of the other keys. Who's her accomplice? Marula Snide. What? So the new plan now is to get a giant dung bomb from our good old buddy Bilton Blimes at Zonko's, and that's going to scare away Marula's crew of Barnaby and Ismelda so you can confront her one-on-one and try to get the key from her. So you do this, you do the big dung bomb, it's great, it's very stinky, and you duel Marula again, you beat her again, you take the key, and then she says, don't trust Tulip. I trust Tulip. You can't date Tulip, though, in the dating thing, so I don't know if I super trust Tulip, but I do like Tulip. So you and Tulip then go and you open up Jacob's room with those 2 keys. Now, inside, there was a boggart, and it took the form of Voldemort. So I guess this was the vision where you randomly saw Voldemort when you touched the ice door. Turns out you saw a boggart of Voldemort. I don't know exactly why the boggart takes the form of Voldemort. I don't know why you would be afraid of Voldemort, because like he didn't kill your parents, but I guess he like is scary and still like is a thing. So I guess he's like on the brain. So he's the boggart that shows up. You run away and you try to learn Ridiculous, naturally. There is then a scroll in the library that has detailed instructions for learning Ridiculous. So you learn that, you then defeat the boggart, and you search the locked room, and inside you find a note that says that the next vault is most likely somewhere within the library. Now this is fun because Madam Pince is brought into the game, and she gets fleshed out, but her whole thing is just like shushing you all the time, but it's usually done to comedic effect because like, for some reason, when you and your friends decide to have these plans where you're like, oh, let's figure out stuff about the vaults. Let's go to the library and have a very loud, heated discussion where we say things very loudly. She's like, very poor planning on the part of you and your friends. You could have these discussions literally anywhere else. But then you just get yelled at by Madam Pince all the time. It's a fun time. You and your friends search the library. You find the note. It suggests that the cursed vault is most likely somewhere within the restricted section. Of course it is. So you can't just go into the restricted section. So you talk to Tulip to see if she has any idea of how to get in there. Because, hijinks, Tulip, come on. Even though in the first movie, the only thing you have to do to get into the restricted section is open a lock that isn't even locked. So I don't know how restricted the restricted section is, but anyway, you gotta talk to Tulip. She has a plan, but she needs Barnaby to be on your team. This is the beginning of his redemption arc. So you get him on your team, and he agrees to help you. You pick a friend to go with you to distract Madame Pince, so you can go inside the restricted section and look for this vault. But before you can go in, of course, Marula shows up and makes you duel her for a 5th time. You have dueled Marula more than once a year at this point. This is the 3rd year, the 5th duel. What is going on? What do you think is going to happen, Marula? So she duels you again. You defeat her again. And then you are able to find the entrance to the cursed vault within the restricted section. And once you enter, you get attacked by 3 Voldemort boggarts. So you duel them. What's fun about it is that even though they're a boggart, you still just have to duel it. So you are just like straight up dueling Voldemort, which is very intense. But after you are able to defeat them, you then progress. And when you go into this vault, you find Jacob's broken wand, and then you are able to use Jacob's broken wand on a column that's inside of the vault. The column opens up, and it reveals an arrow and a map of the Forbidden Forest. You have conquered this cursed vault. You've broken the curse of this year, which wasn't anything. There was ice the year before, and this year it's just there's a vault, I guess. But the game's you broke the curse, you've done it. Which sure, I went into the library. This vault wasn't harming anybody. You just kept making me go to class all the time. So you do that, and then everyone, you start talking to Dumbledore. He's oh, Hogwarts is safe again. Thank you so much. He gives you 100 more House Cup points, even though last year he was I'm not giving you any more House Cup points. But then this year he's oh, you're pulling my leg. I'm going to give you some House Cup points. And that's the end of year 3. Told you, not much goes on. It's interesting. Year 4 is just it is so long. It is so long. All these other ones, they break it up into chapters and they're 10 each. I'm pretty sure year 4, which I'm still in, as you can see, is 22 chapters or something. It's absurd and it's ridiculous. We're not gonna have enough time to get into that. That's a problem for future Mike. But with the remaining time here, I'm gonna see the Q&A questions that you guys asked me, and we'll get into some fun Q&A stuff. Gina asks, this is not related to the Harry Potter game, but do you really think it makes sense that the Weasleys are poor? A theory. Theory, : It doesn't make sense because Arthur has a solid position within the Ministry of Magic. That makes sense. Several of their children are fully supporting themselves, and we can assume that they aren't paying a mortgage on the borough. I like this. Real estate. Perhaps we are supposed to read between the lines of the unspoken story of Mr. Weasley's terrible gambling problem. Ooh, how else would the twins later turned to gamble with Ludo Bagman, my best friend? They learned it from somewhere. That is from Gina and Sarah. So, Gina, thank you so much for sending in this question. Yeah, I think the way that they try to justify this is that they kind of dunk on Arthur's job for some reason, where they're muggles. So they try to say he's got this poorly paying job that isn't very good at the ministry. But yes, I would agree. He's been employed at the ministry for a very long time. Bill clearly is doing well as a curse breaker. He's going all over the world. Charlie is thriving in Romania. Yeah, it definitely feels like the borough is not something that they're paying a lot of money towards. So yes, I think that this is strange that the Weasleys are poor. I guess it's just the trope of oh, well, they have a lot of kids, so it's expensive. But Hogwarts also doesn't charge tuition. So it's not there is a whole lot of stuff going there. Also, there's supposed to be this big blood purity family, and all the other blood pure families are super, I don't know, well-to-do and all. So I agree, Gina and Sarah. I think it is a bunch of baloney that they're not doing well. I think they're great. The other flip is maybe they are just minimalists and they give a lot to wizard charity. And they're just doing okay. And they realize that like their biggest expense would be school tuition, but they go to a school with free tuition. Like, yeah, like hand-me-down robes make sense. Robes are big and droopy. They don't have to fit well. It's not like a tailored suit. It's just like a big old cloak. Who cares? So maybe the Weasleys are just like, they've got the right idea where they're living it as it is. They've got a nice house in the middle of nowhere with no neighbors except for Luna, I guess. And they're just doing just fine. But yes, I think it is suspicious. Okay, this next question says, hello, I'm Grace. I'm a Slytherin, but not racist. Thank you, Grace. If any of you have not been to a Potterless live show or listened to one, normally, when the world is normal and we have people passing around a microphone and stuff, people will say like, hi, here's my name, here's my house. And one of the things that I make sure people do is I say that if you are from Slytherin, you have to let me know whether or not you are racist. And if you are racist, I'm sorry, but I just cannot yield your question. I'm just gonna draw the line somewhere. So, Grace clarifies that she is a Slytherin, but she's not racist. Good job, Grace. You work a lot with editing, Mike. What are your favorite and least favorite parts? That's very good. So I guess the favorite parts, I would say the favorite parts of editing, Mike, I would say is making me look very smart. It's a mix of making me look smart, but then also like calling me out when I say stuff that is bad or I've made a mistake. So it's like one of the two extremes, and it usually comes down to, can I edit this in a convincing way where people listening to the podcast won't notice? Every now and then, some things will happen where like, for whatever reason, I've talked about this on the show, I guess because they're powerful wizards in 3 syllables, so many times I will say Voldemort when I mean Dumbledore, and Dumbledore when I mean Voldemort. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but it happens to me all the time. So what I will usually have to do is I will be listening to it, I'll be editing it, I've realized in the past I've said the wrong thing, and then I have to do the cool thing where I get to do an impression of myself, where I listen to a sentence that I said for an episode I recorded weeks ago, and then I try to mimic it exactly so that it sounds the same. But if it's like out of context and it's too hard, that's when editing Mike comes in and dunks and is like, past Mike's a buffoon, here's the real thing. So yeah, I guess I would say that would be the favorite things. I think the true least favorite thing of editing Mike is that editing Mike does love to procrastinate and usually ends in late night, Sunday night editing sessions, which is also going to happen tonight because I do have an episode of Potterless coming out tomorrow, which is half edited. So I'm going to clean up all of this pretend dollar bills that are on the stage. Then I will pack up all my stuff. I will go back to my undisclosed location where I'm staying for the night. And then I will edit Potterless until like 2 a.m. So I think that's probably my least favorite part of editing Mike, is that he is really good at saying, I'll do this later, it won't take that long. And then it does take that long. Okay. Amanda and Lauren asked, did you get to do anything fun here in Pittsburgh? Sadly, no, because let me tell you about my day today. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I took a subway up to the only rental car place in New York City that will let me do a one-way rental for this tour, because the state of Pennsylvania has decided we don't do one-way rentals. I tried to do a thing where I was gonna like Amtrak into Harrisburg and then rent from Harrisburg up here, and then Harrisburg was like, we can't do this. And then I called Philadelphia, garbage city, am I right? And Philadelphia was like, no, we can't do this either. And I was like, you're Philadelphia, come on. So I couldn't do that either. So I had to so my day was go up there, get a rental car, drive it back, pack the clothes. But because when I got the rental car back, it was in the parking situation where metered parking began, Kelly had to sit in the rental car in case a ticket person came so she could be like, please don't give me a ticket. And I got to then eat eggs that Kelly had made for me while I was getting the car, pack up the stuff, walk downstairs with a bunch of bags, load up the car, drive. I drove, and then I drove for like 6 hours to get here. And then I've also learned that when you are in between New York and Pennsylvania, especially when you're driving from like, there was a really fun fork in the road where it was like Highway 76, I think, which was very fitting because of your basketball team. But it was Highway 76, and it was like, it split like that meme with the two choices, and it was like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. And it was like really dramatic, and I was like, oh wow, the two genders. So I went down the Pittsburgh path, and I flipped off Pennsylvania, right? And then drove down there. And then I also learned that when you're driving, it was very scenic, it was very pretty, I liked it. There was way more tunnels than I was expecting. But then also, I normally when I'm doing these drives, you like pass by little towns. But what I learned was in Pennsylvania, in this part, was like service plazas, where it was like, we have one building that has a Starbucks and 4 other fast fast food restaurants and a Sunoco gas station where every single gas station thing is full and no one knows how to do it properly. Like there were multiple people, the one I went to, where they like parked and then like filled up their car with gas and then went inside to use the bathroom. It's like, dude, come on, you gotta drive the car. I'm waiting here very politely in my undisclosed rental car, and I need to fill it up with gas. So that was my day. I got to my Airbnb. I only had enough time to like go in, shower, get dressed, take some pictures of the view, and then come here and then prepare. So the fun things I got to do in Pittsburgh today were check into an Airbnb and go to the Hard Rock Cafe. But everything's been really nice, and I drove across some bridges, and they were very pretty. So Pittsburgh is great. I love it here. Let's see. So this is from Brenna. Brenna says, this is our family's favorite get-to-know-you question. Ooh, well, I'll learn a little bit more about me. What would you do if you had $1 million but no pants? Can I buy pants? Brenna, are you in, Brenna, where are you? What? Is the situation I have the money on me and I don't have pants and I have to like spend the money and I don't have pants while I do it? I'm in my house. I have $1 million, but I have no pants. Okay, that's the whole question. Okay, I mean, I probably would put on pants or not, but yeah, if I had $1 million, I would first, I can do more than just one thing, right? It's not one of those like you have to spend it on one things. Oh, the objective is just to buy my pants. Okay, cool. Well, then the first thing I'm going to do is buy pants. I love pants. I have many fun pairs of pants. Look at these pants. Like I've packed I own 4 pairs of pink pants. I love pants. I'd buy some pants. If I have $1 million, I would buy expensive pants. But really, like I would probably pay off Kelly's student loans and then buy a house and then donate the rest to charity. I feel like that's like the whole play here. Or maybe just like probably save enough where I could just like not work. That would be cool. Just like instead of being like episodes of my podcast come out weekly, I'd be like episodes of my podcast come out whenever I damn well please. That's probably what I would do. But yes, definitely would buy pants. Thank you for this question. Let's see. Annabelle says, do you think that JK is classist? Yes. The answer is yes, but I'd like to hear your opinion. I mean, yeah, I think really what it was is she got really rich and she was like kind of progressive, and then she got really powerful and stuff, and no one ever told her no for like 5 straight years, and then she was fully convinced that she was the best person on earth and she didn't need to improve, and she sucks now. So that's how it happened. This next question comes from Amanda. She says, Amanda here, Hufflepuff through and through, not related to the series, but is Kelly traveling with you on tour? If not, how do you guys navigate through it? So under normal circumstances, Kelly would be traveling with me, but because of the panorama, and also Kelly has a family trip that's coming during this week, it was not meant to be. She normally would have been the guest here. I would have bumped editing Mike and we would have done the show. But no, I mean, the way we're really doing it is like over the course of the drive, I called her 3 separate times just to be like, hello, how's it going? We've FaceTime before the show. I'll FaceTime after. She texted me before the show went on to say good luck. So yeah, just like lots of calls and stuff. It's weird because with Kelly and I, like our whole relationship is very strange in that like we knew each other a little bit in college, and then we were both in Paris for different stuff, her for school, me for work, and we like talked to each other there, and then we were like long distance for a little bit, and then we were back in Houston for a little bit, and then we both got jobs around the same time, her in New York, me in Seattle, so then we were long distance for 2 years, and then I got to New York, then we moved in together, we got married, and then the Panasonic happened, and this will officially be like the longest we've ever been apart in like a year and a half. It was funny because when we got married, we both said something to the effect of like, oh, like after we get married, we should just like spend a lot of time together and not see any of our friends. Sorry guys, it's our fault. So it's very weird that like we've gone through these phases of our relationship like all the time together or none of the time together. So yeah, I mean, just lots of phone calls and FaceTimes and all that, and we'll be okay. But it is just weird because like under normal circumstances, like, oh, I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks. Like that happens. Sometimes people have work trips or whatever. But yeah, it's just strange after a year and a half of like seeing the same person every day all the time, which is great when that person's your best friend and not like a random roommate that you don't like, which both of us like. Kelly had a roommate that she liked. I had a roommate that I he was fine, but very messy, and that was stressful when you live in a very small New York City apartment. So if I was in the pandemonium with him, Kelly, much better roommate. Okay, this question is from Jessica. It says, not Potter related. What are your feelings on astrology? What's your sign? I'm an Aquarius. I think astrology, it's one of those things I'm like, I'm just not going to get invested into this. If it's your vibe, cool. For me, I'm very superstitious. It's mainly because I played baseball growing up, but I am hyper superstitious. I played baseball and tennis the most growing up, and those are like the two most superstitious sports. I'm so superstitious that when I play NBA 2K, which is a basketball video game, and the pretend announcers say something good about my team, they're like, oh, he's made the 5 shots in a row. I will pause the game and knock on wood on my hardwood flooring in my apartment because I think digital Ernie Johnson has decided to jinx me. So because I am very superstitious, I have made the dedicated choice to not get involved with astrology because I feel like I would get like too hell-bent on different stuff. So like when people say like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde, I'm like, what the fuck is, I have no, and I don't want to know, because then I'll be like, uh-oh, Aquarius, like, I'm gonna, I'll say something mean to someone I truly love or whatever. So I've just made the personal decision to be like, no, thank you, not for me. But yeah, I'm an Aquarius because of my birthday, so that's that. Okay, this question is from Sarah, a not racist Slytherin. She says, unrelated to the game and the show, but question, should there be Wizard College? How are they sending 17-year-olds straight into the workforce? Yeah, that's great. I fully support this. It is wild. To expect people to know what they want to do when they're 17 years old is ridiculous. I already think it's wild that for college, like, depending on the major, like sometimes you have to know what you want to do before you even get to college. Like with me with engineering, which clearly I'm using that degree a whole heck of a lot. But for me with engineering, like even though where I went to college, I didn't have to declare my major until after my sophomore year, like there were so many required courses with engineering that it was like, if you didn't do them right from the jump, like you were going to spend an extra year. And I'm going to tell you, tuition at Rice University is not cheap. And my parents were like, we'll help you out with some of the years, not helping you out with any extra years. So yeah, I think it's wild that they have to just like graduate the equivalent of high school, but even 1 year prior, and then just go straight into the workforce. It's ridiculous, especially in the wizarding world where there doesn't seem to be like a lot of jobs. There's like a couple different types, like you can be a professor or a professional athlete or work for the government. And that's like, or a teacher, or I already said professor. There's nothing, right? Like there's not a lot. So I do think there should be at least an optional thing, just something where like you don't know what you have to do because, I don't know, I think it's wild. If you know what you want to do, great. But like there should be something. So yes, Sarah, I agree. It's ridiculous. And also I will say, because you mentioned that you were in high school and you're going through a crisis of trying to figure out what you want to do, don't worry about it. Clearly, your life can change dramatically. You can study engineering and then work for engineering for 4 years and then professionally make fun of children's books. There is no set path. You can do whatever you want. Okay, this question is from Salome, who is a Ravenclaw. What characters do you think your RPG character from Hogwarts Mystery would take to the fantasy suite if they were adults in the Bachelor/Bachelorette Wizarding Bachelor Edition? Fantastic question, Salome. Thank you so much. I think for my character, again, adults, that I think of the people that I like the most in the game, I vibed with Tulip the most just because she was the most fun and fun-loving, quirky, that kind of stuff, which is my kind of vibe. I think that is who my RPG character would be interested in. But the game has decided I can't date Tulip, so that'll never happen. Taylor says, what has been your favorite thing that you have gained from doing Potterless? And then in parentheses, besides the friends you made along the way. I would say probably the fact that I get to do this as my job is pretty sweet. Like, that is pretty cool that I've gotten to do that. But I think honestly, just like, beyond the friends that I've made along the ways, I feel like I have grown a lot by doing this. Obviously, like the books teach you lessons and stuff, but like from all the different people that I've had on the show, just like hearing their backgrounds and then just like hearing from different listeners and meeting people at events and having people who support internationally. I get to learn about like other cultures and like learned a lot about British food when people like yelled at me that treacle tarts are real and stuff like that. So I do like feel like I have genuinely learned a lot doing this, which is really cool. And then also, it Potterless has now started a full career in podcasting, which is really cool. And like, I didn't like engineering. I was good enough at it to get by, but my dream was always to do something in the comedic world. So now that I get to do that, I think that's pretty sweet. Ooh, love this. Devin, a Ravenclaw, do you have a favorite Pokemon? Curious after the fire and ice type reference. This is great. Yeah, my favorite Pokemon is Raichu because he's severely underrated and Pikachu is mad overrated. Raichu is really cool, and the only reason that people don't like him as much is because Pikachu is just there, and then Ash is like, no, I'm not gonna evolve my Pikachu, I'm gonna keep him cute. And we're gonna turn Pikachu from pudgy mouse into in-shape mouse, because branding. But no, I think Raichu is super cool. I like electric type Pokemon. I always turned my Pikachu into a Raichu when I had them, and I was very mad when I got Pokemon Yellow Edition where they give you a Pikachu, and then if you try to give Pikachu a Thunderstone, Pikachu gets really mad at you. It's like, I'm just trying to make you better at fighting. I'm sorry, I'm trying to improve you and give you higher stats. Is this so bad? But yeah, I think Raichu is super cool and mad underrated. Thank you for this question. Let's see. Natalie asks a couple different questions. First, how's your niece? Aurora's great. We played Legos together. She likes to read. We've been going swimming, and we learned we were all playing tennis as a family, and we were trying to teach Aurora to play tennis, and she was so bad. But I've never seen someone be so bad at something, but respond so well to positive reinforcement, where I would toss her the ball. And granted, she's using a racket for adult humans, so it's way too big, and she has never played tennis before, so she'll just completely miss the ball and swing, and it'll be ridiculous. But then when I try to say nice things of it's okay, you were close, she'll be like, yeah, I was close. And then I'll be like, oh, you keep getting better. She's like, I'm getting better. I'm improving. And she's like, and we're just having fun. I'm like, we are having fun. It was great. Aurora's a champ. Natalie also asked, how do you like Pittsburgh? It's been great. Love it. My limited experience, A+. Everyone here, super nice. Everyone at the Hard Rock Cafe, super nice. I assume everyone in Pittsburgh is super nice. Way better than people from Philly, am I right? And then Natalie says, who's your favorite and your least favorite Death Eater? Man, I feel like my favorite Death Eater would be Lucius because he's so dramatic and then becomes kind of good, I guess, in the end. My least favorite, I'm just gonna say Dolohov. I don't really have an answer other than what does he do besides be bad? Does Fenrir count? He's not really a Death Eater, right? Because it's pretty easy to pick the guy who eats children. That'd be a very easy worst Death Eater, but I don't think he's a Death Eater. So instead, I will say Dolohov. He seems rude. Someone asked, what position would your Hogwarts mystery character play on the basketball court? I will say when I play basketball, I am a small forward, which for any of you who don't listen to Horse, that doesn't mean anything, so that's okay. Listen to Horse. Okay. Someone has asked me to do the Wobble. Does anyone know what the Wobble is? Okay, the Wobble, okay. Here's just a life pro tip for everyone. And this is how we'll end the show. This is great. Katie, thank you so much for asking this question. The Wobble is one of, if not the greatest inventions of dance ever. It is a line dance, but unlike a normal line dance, it doesn't suck. It is actually perfect. And the thing about the Wobble is that the song is good, the line dance is easy, and anytime you see a group of people doing the Wobble, you cannot help but say, I want to do that too. It's very good. The song is very catchy because it mainly just involves a bunch of men rapping, saying, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. But then they say, encouraging things, get in there, and hey, big girl, back it up. It's very good. It's very fun. When I was in college, what I would always do to try to get a party going is I would play, and you can all steal this. You can do this at your events. You can do this at your weddings. If you want to make the party pop off, if you're running into a situation like in Footloose, where everyone's standing on the wall and no one's dancing, and you can't be Kevin Bacon and slide in and make CGI glitter come from the ceiling and scream, let's dance, that's not available to you, you can do this. You play the Wobble the perfect line dance. Everybody comes out. It's very easy to do the wobble. It's not hard at all. And then you play the WAP, which is a very good song that doesn't have a line dance, but there is a choreography where during the chorus you pretend to spray dollar bills out into the air. Very fun. But with that one, you get to do whatever you want during the verses. So it's kind of like graduating into regular dance party. Line dance. We have instructions. Thing where we only have instructions during the chorus. Now it's a party. That's the secret to success. But the wobble is a line dance. I probably just have it somewhere here. I'll just play it through these speakers. The wobble. It's very good. I believe the band is called VIC, which I do think stands for Victorious in Christ. Not a religious group at all. Not at all. 0%. 0% religious. But it's very, very good. Let's see if this will happen. Okay.
Drop it down, let me see your chest. Get low, scrub the ground, let me see your chest. Push it.
Very easy. So you go like this, you go wobble baby, wobble baby, wobble. And then you go back. And then you go to the side, a little of this action, and then go to the other side. And then when they say get in there, you do a little cha-cha, you do the 1, 2, 3, and then up and back, and 1, 2, 3, and then you just kind of like Dougie in place to the side, and then you turn 90 degrees to the left, and then it repeats. Hey, big girl, and back it up, and then you can like get down with it and deep with it. It's perfect. It's great. So like, highly recommend the wobble. It is perfect. I think you should all do it at your parties of choice. And I thank you so much for that question, and I think that's a perfect way to end it. So thank you all so much for coming out to Potterless Live. Genuinely, this is like so awesome that you all were able to come out here. Thank you so much for being good sports about wearing masks and stuff. Makes me just feel better about like having live events during like Delta. So thank you so much for all of that. Under normal circumstances, I would like do a meet and greet thing where I like take pictures, say hello, all that kind of stuff. But just because I don't want to like conglomerate you all closer in this time right now, I'm just going to politely scurry my way back to the green room and let you all go and then clean up stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But seriously, thank you guys so much. Like, this is really cool. I really wanted to make this tour happen. I was very sad when the world delayed it and then delayed it and then delayed it and delayed it. So to do that and to see all your faces is really great. And hopefully at some point in the future, I'll come back for another live show and I'll be back in Pennsylvania and I'll only go to Pittsburgh and not Philadelphia, right? Yes. Thank you guys so much, and to close it all out, to put a nice little button on the event, we'll, as they say in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, when they are driving down that Highway 76 and they have to choose between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and they choose Pittsburgh instead, Wizard on! Thank you guys so much for coming out, I really appreciate it!
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this live show episode of Potterless. If you love Potterless and you still want some more, whether you're listening to this close to when it came out or years after the fact, if you go to patreon.com/Potterless, you can still listen to all of the old Potterless bonus content that was out there, whether that is bonus episodes, director's commentary, video stuff, it's all still there. You can just join the I Just Want the Potterless Stuff tier of the Patreon because I'm currently using that same account for The Newest Olympian, my new podcast, which is similar to Potterless, but is me discovering the Percy Jackson series in an effort to determine if this is a book series we've all been sleeping on. If that sounds up your alley, you should check that out by listening to The Newest Olympian wherever you get your podcasts or thenewestolympian.com. If you want to just check out what I'm doing, Mike Schubert, you can go to my website. It's Schubes, schub.es. You can see all of the stuff that I'm up to. For example, Modern Muckraker is something that I had talked about previously that is now complete. It is a very fun podcast that I think is the best work I've ever done, and you should check that out by searching for Modern Muckraker wherever you get your podcasts or going to modernmuck.com. But all in all, I'm just glad that you listened to this episode and you stuck all the way to the credits, and that's really cool. And I hope that you continue to listen to anything that comes on this feed, or if you're able to and you feel safe enough to do so, you come to a live show. I want to keep doing these. I want to keep doing convention appearances. I will be posting all of that stuff here because this feed is not dead. It's just taking a new form. But thank you so much for listening. I very much appreciate it. And until next time, whenever I have some more audio to post, Wizard on!